Like many of my projects, this started on a graphics program on the computer, where as you can see I've done out a copy of the design. This is a full-size copy, so that's 100%. Done it the proper width and height, and then I'm just split that into printable sections. 2, 3, 4. Split it into 4 sections so I can print it off, and then I'll stick it together and have a full-size copy. I'm also going to make myself a little template which gives the inside shape here, and that'll be a template I can use to construct the flowers. Right, let me go off and print that out and stitch it together. So here it is. I've printed out the design as much as you can see it. Unfortunately, obviously I can't put it under the mirror, so what I've done is I've made a couple of templates. There's this little one here which gives the distance between the outside of the mirror and the first leaded line, and that's the same all the way around. Slightly larger one to give the distance between the edge of the mirror and the second line, and this one here is the flower heads. Now, as I said earlier, that's just the inside, so I can do the leaded round the outside, so it's just basically that white area. So that's my 3 templates. You'll have to recognize this recording isn't going to go well because this is a mirror and we're going to get reflections all over the place, so I apologize right now for that. I'm also having to stand up to do it, which is quite unusual. Right, while I've got it that way around, I just want to measure up my first piece of lead. Shall go from there. Just get that roughly to size. Now, again, as I said earlier, these 2 lines, the inner 2 and everything else, will be in this 4.5mm lead. The outside I'm going to try using a thicker lead and bending it over the edge. If that doesn't work, I can still stick or go back to the 4.5, but if possible I want to bend it around the edge. If you have trouble with the pliability of the lead, it's quite sensitive to room temperature. You can warm it up. You can warm it up with a hairdryer. If it's on a piece, you can warm it up on a radiator, but I will stress only warm it up. This lead can hold a lot of heat, and even though your radiator might not be too hot, the lead, if left for too long on it, can get ridiculously hot. So only warm it up, it becomes more pliable, but do not make it too hot, you're going to burn yourself. So that is my warning. So how am I going to do this? Well, I've got my template, I've got my mirror, so here goes. I've been avoiding showing the mirror because you're going to see me wandering around. Now what I'm going to do is put the mirror like that. I just needed a flat edge. It's actually my spirit level, but it's enough to give me a flat edge. And then if I get my small template, the template's going to go across against there. The lead's then going to be pushed against there like that. That is the theory. Let's see how well we can do this. If I wasn't showing you, I'd actually do this against the wall. I'd put the table against the wall, the mirror against the wall, and then that would go against the wall as well. So if you think of the wall instead of the spirit level, because the wall can't move, obviously the spirit level can move. That's what I'm worried about. So I'm just peeling the back off of my lead, and I do have problems with this, so I'm just going to find my craft knife. So as you can see there, I hope I've just started to peel it off. And that's all I'm going to do, just the beginning bit. I'm going to get that stuck on in the right place, hopefully. Then I'm going to peel it off as I go. Keeping everything tight there. And this is going to have to move up. So take that out from there. Put it there. There we go, make sure that is against. It's a bit tight at the edge there. That needs to come in slightly. Right, that's fine. Now I'll get my plastic tool. Don't worry if you haven't got one of these. Any bit of hard plastic should do. And I'm just going to smooth that down onto the glass. Get little kinks out. Make sure it's down hard onto the glass. It's lead, it's quite pliable, and any kinks should come out. So we've now got one line done. I'm going to carry on and I'm going to do the 4 parallel lines and then I'll come back to you. Obviously the inner lines, just to show you, I will be doing exactly the same way. That on there, that on there, and the lines down. The gap will look a bit strange, wider here, because don't forget I've got the one to go along the edge yet. So let me do those 4 parallel lines and then I will come back to you. Well, as you can see, I've done the 4 parallel lines. I will admit, when I did the other side, I found it easier to do the further one first and then the inner one second. Only slightly easier, but it was easier, so I thought I'd let you know. Now, next thing to do will be the flowers. I've said time and time again, it's important to work out the order in which you lead up a piece. Now, my issue with doing the parallel lines at the bottom is that I actually want these bits to be underneath this one. So that'll go down first, that'll go on top, which is why I'm doing the flowers now rather than later. I'm going to start with this one here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a bit of lead and very roughly, I know it won't stay in shape, but very roughly I'm going to sort of bend that to shape. And I'm sure it won't stay as I want it. I'm also going to leave a reasonable amount at the end spare. Not a huge amount, I don't want to waste my lead, but I'd rather waste a little bit than find out I haven't got enough. So try that again. It's going to be down on there. It's going to come very close to that. Luckily, it doesn't matter if this isn't exactly right. It's art, there isn't or craft, there isn't a right or wrong. You know, I want to roughly get this design, but it doesn't have to be precise. So now I'm going to slide that off there onto there. I'll keep my chart near me because I want to measure a couple of things in a minute. Now if I can find my template again, I know, if I put the template there, so I'll get it so you can see it. If I put the template there, I know if I put that down to there, then that will get covered by the lead strip going that way. I'm just going to take a couple of measurements off. Well, I'm not even going to measure, I'm just going to use my finger to mark off the design. It was there, and maybe come across a little bit, a little bit more. Yeah, that'll be fine. So we will get that piece down. This end's going to be slightly complicated, sort of making it up a little bit as I go along. There's different ways of finishing things off. One is to cut things tight and slide them together so there's no gap. One is to run one piece of lead over the top of the other to finish it off so there's no gap. The important thing being there's no gap, especially in the what will be the flower head up here, because obviously that is going to get painted, and the last thing I want to happen is there to be gaps for the paint to run out of. So let's take the beginning of the backing off here. Slightly awkward, which is why I always use my craft knife to do that. Again, I'm only just going to take the beginning off. If you do make a mistake with the lead, you can always lift it back off again and re-put it down. In the worst scenario, you're going to lose the bit of lead. As you can see, I've just placed that down. I'm just going to my design, getting a few measurements off, trying to get it roughly in the same place, but I say it doesn't matter. With this design particularly, it's more important that it flows, or in my mind that's the more important thing, than it is exactly as I've done it. There we go. Gonna measure up one more time before I finish. My main issue here is that I get room to put the second flower head in. I don't want to find I've run out of room for this second flower head over here. That should be right, and if I find my template, that will be there. It's coming across a bit further. Sorry, that's why, because it's going to be like that there. I've got to make sure there's enough room for this one over here. Possibly even down there. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. So let's get that firmed onto the sheet, and obviously I've now lost my plastic tool. There we are, found it again. I will go over all these at the end. That's in the right place, yeah. Now take a measurement from the bottom of the design to where the flower heads meet. I could even do that. That's where the flower heads are going to meet on the lead. Just put a little mark on there with my fingernail. So that's going to give me the position at which I will start the flower head, giving enough room for a bit of lead. It is going to be there. It's going to be slightly tight for getting the other one up, so I'm going to move it up very slightly. So obviously I've got a stem which will go from here up here to the other flower. There we go. So I'm going to cut myself a piece of lead. Just cut it somewhere around the middle. There we go. Now I'm hoping I got that roughly right, because what I wanted to do is go on there like that. And getting my template. Hopefully, and this is going to be quite a tight I want to get that right in there, because we are going to be painting this, and it is important that that is sealed. Also, putting it down like that means, hopefully, it should keep the lead more in one place as it's being pushed down. It really is push. There we go. And now I've got to do the same on the other side to make sure that's in the same place. Again, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly right. That's nowhere near right. And now I want it meeting in the middle there. Now I'm going to try this bit by bit. Just move that one across a little bit. Hope you can see all this. Move it so slightly so you can. Now, so the higher one's taken care of. I just want to get down to the lower one. This isn't quite how I envisaged doing it, but it seems to have worked nicely. I'm hoping it'll give us a nice good seal. Now that's going to take a fair bit of smoothing down. And you can see that kinks come out. Don't worry if you get a ridge like there, it does give it that stained glass look, as most of you will know, stained glass does have the ridges in. Where the lead solder Sorry, I was just saying I got into concentrating there. But where the lead solder is put on, you'll see little ridges. So it is expected, if you're getting a stained glass look, that you do have those ridges. I'm going to decide later whether I'm going to blunt off the end a little bit. No, I won't. I'll decide now. I am going to blunt off the end a little bit. I'm just going to lift that little bit off. There you are. That looks better. Okay, so that's flower number 1 done. I'm not going to make you sit through all that again. That was quite a lot. So I'm going to get on and do the second flower. Might show a little bit of it sped up, but we'll just get on and do the second flower. Now, I wasn't going to show you this bit, but let me just work out where I am showing. I wanted to just stress how important it is that you get these corner bits in tight. You're going to be painting in these corners, I assume. You don't have to, but I certainly will be. So it really is important to get the lead in tight. Otherwise, your paint is going to spill from one section to another. And when I say get it in tight, I mean where these lines cross, you need to get some bit of plastic and get that so it's a real in there, and that there's no gaps between the leads. Keep it tight all the way, well, particularly on the corners where you're going to paint, and then hopefully paint will not spill from one section to another. Now we're on to the last bit of the leading, which is going to obviously be the edges. Now to do this I can use the same template. I have to be slightly careful here. I'm not sure how much the lead is going to curve round. It's a little bit tight, but I do have a couple of alternatives there, so we won't worry about that too much just yet. We're going to get it stuck on this side. I'm using the same template, running my spirit level up to the edge of the outer lead, and hopefully that should give us a nice line all the way down that side. Let's see how we go. Now what I'm going to do, just for a second, is I'm going to warm it up. I did say to you earlier that this is more pliable when it's warm, so I've got my hairdryer here. Each year becomes more useful for crafts and has less hair to dry. But anyway, I'm just going to warm this up. You won't hear for a second. And so I haven't done that too much because it can get very hot very quickly. But it is a cold day, and I'm just going to, there you are, you get to see my feet. Just going to go to the edge of the table. There we go. And just carry that on, going round. They're going to be awkward bits. Anyway, let's get it going, carrying on round. What we're aiming to do is obviously get a fairly sharp finish to this. There we go. And obviously I'm going to, I don't know whether you can see this, I'm going to have to work to do that and just move it back, round onto the back, like that. It doesn't have to be totally smooth on the back, but I'm going to get it as smooth as I can because people will assume want to hang this onto the wall, and therefore you don't want it hanging off. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do that all around the 4 edges, and that will be the whole piece leaded up. So now we're ready for the painting, and thankfully we're back to normal straightforward glass painting as long as you've sealed those gaps. Let's move this just slightly so you can see it better. I've gone through different colours in my head several times. I've ended up with 2 greens, what I'm calling pearlized green gold and a light green. You can do whatever colours you want. I was going to do 2 shades of blue, but this is where we've ended up. Thing which is slightly different maybe, I've got a couple of these cotton buds. This type of lead isn't that forgiving when you get paint actually on it too much, so I'm not having one of these cotton buds or a couple of these cotton buds by. If you do get any spills onto the lead, then you've got a chance to remove it. But anyway, I'm going to use normal glass painting techniques. It's quite good that the lead doesn't take any time to dry. Just pushing it right up to the lead, but trying not to get it on the lead. Another good thing with this is it's not quite as bad if you do have a gap. There'll be no light coming through. And you can see I've strayed onto the glass there. I'm just going to use my cotton bud. Take a bit of that paint off. Just need to tease it up into that last bit. There we go. Don't think I've got any gaps. Something's happening there and there. Oh, that should be okay. Let's do the other one. Whilst I've got you here, I'd just like to mention Carolyn and Jim from Mirror Arts, unfortunately no longer with us, but as I use a lot of their techniques, the techniques that they taught me, it would be really wrong of me not to give them a mention. 2 wonderful people, very well known on the craft circuit in the UK, or they were. very much missed. Alright, when I get a minute I'm going to hopefully write a little article about them and show you some of their work, which was absolutely fantastic. Never seen mirror work like it. Right, there's those, and obviously want the squares done on the outside. I think you can still see this. I'm just being careful not to get the paint on the lead, certainly not too much. Thankfully we've been quite lucky as far as escapes. It looks as though, touch wood, I've managed to seal all these joints so far. Right, I'm not going to make you watch every bit of this, so I will carry on. Finish painting this piece, and that will be it finished. And here is the finished piece. Quite happy with it. There's a few little bits of paint around which I might still yet clean up. Sorry, I've had a bit of problem photographing it, as you normally do with mirrors. For your information, this mirror is 300mm wide and 450mm high. I actually bought it in the UK from Homebase, and it already came with the 2 holes pre-drilled in it. I hope you enjoy this project. Obviously the size of mirror, the design, the colours are all up to you, but hopefully this video has shown you a few techniques you can use. Happy crafting!